Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we will be in Exodus chapter 15, verse 19 through chapter 17, verse 7. Doesn't seem quite right. I'm not sure that we've done the first part of that. No, I guess we have. For the horses of Pharaoh came with his chariots and his footmen into the sea, and the Lord brought back the waters of the sea on them. But the Israelites walked on dry land in the middle of the sea. Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a hand drum in her hand, and all the women went out after her with hand drums and with dances. Miriam sang in response to them, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea." Then Moses led Israel to journey away from the Red Sea. They went out to the desert of Shur, walked for 3 days into the desert, and found no water. Then they came to Marah, but they were unable to drink the waters of Marah, because they were bitter. That is why it was named Marah. So the people murmured against Moses, saying, "What can we drink?" He cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When Moses threw it into the water became safe to drink. There the Lord made for them a binding ordinance, and there he tested them. He said, "If you will diligently obey the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, and pay attention to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, then all the diseases that I brought on the Egyptians I will not bring on you, for I, the Lord, am your healer." Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the water. When they journeyed from Elim, the entire company of Israelites came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their exodus from the land of Egypt. The entire company of Israelites murmured against Moses and Aaron in the desert. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out into this desert to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I am going to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people will go out and gather the amount for each day, so that I may test them. Will they walk in my law or not? On the 6th day they will prepare what they bring in, and it will be twice as much as they gather every other day." Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, "In the evening you will know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your murmurings against the Lord. As for us, what are we, that you should murmur against us?" Moses said, "You will know this when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening and bread in the morning to satisfy you, because the Lord has heard your murmurings, that you are murmuring against him. As for us, what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Tell the whole community of the Israelites, 'Come before the Lord, because he has heard your murmurings.'" As Aaron spoke to the whole community of the Israelites, and they looked toward the desert, there the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud, and the Lord spoke to Moses. "I have heard the murmurings of the Israelites. Tell them during the evening you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be satisfied with bread, so that you may know that I am the Lord your God." In the evening quail came up and covered the camp, and in the morning a layer of dew was all around the camp. When the layer of dew had evaporated, there on the surface of the desert was a thin, flaky substance, thin like frost on the earth. When the Israelites saw it, they said to one another, "What is it?" because they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread that the Lord has given you for food. This is what the Lord has commanded. Each person is to gather from it what he can eat, an omer per person, according to the number of your people. Each one will pick it up for whoever lives in his tent." The Israelites did so, and they gathered, some more, some less. When they measured with an omer, the one who gathered much had nothing left over, and the one who gathered little lacked nothing. Each one had gathered what he could eat. Moses said to them, "No one is to keep any of it until morning." But they did not listen to Moses. Some kept part of it until morning, and it was full of worms and began to stink. And Moses was angry with them. So they gathered it each morning, each person according to what he could eat, and when the sun got hot, it would melt. And on the sixth day, they gathered twice as much food, 2 omers per person, and all the leaders of the community came and told told Moses. He said to them, "This is what the Lord has said. Tomorrow is a time of cessation from work, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Whatever you want to bake, bake today. Whatever you want to boil, boil today. And whatever is left, put aside for yourselves to be kept until morning." So they put it aside until the morning, just as Moses had commanded, and it did not stink, nor were there any worms in it. Moses said, "Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find it in the area. 6 days you will gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will not be any." On the seventh day, some of the people went out to gather it, but they found nothing. So the Lord said to Moses, "How long do you refuse to obey my commandments and my instructions? See, because the Lord has given you the Sabbath, that is why he is giving you food for 2 days on the sixth day. Each of you stay where you are. Let no one go out of his place on the seventh day." So the people rested on the seventh day. The house of Israel called its name manna. It was like coriander seed, and was white, and it tasted like wafers with honey. Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Fill an omer with it, to be kept for generations to come, so that they may see the food I fed you in the desert when I brought you out from the land of Egypt." Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and put in it an omer full of manna, and place it before the Lord to be kept for generations to come." Just as the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron placed it before the testimony for safekeeping. Now the Israelites ate manna 40 years, until they came to a land that was inhabited. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is 1/10 of an ephah. The whole community of the Israelites traveled on their journey from the desert of Sin, according to the Lord's instructions, and they pitched camp in Rephidim. Now there was no water for the people to drink. So the people contended with Moses, and they said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you contend with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people were very thirsty there for water, and they murmured against Moses and said, "Why in the world did you bring us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst?" Then Moses cried out to the Lord, "What will I do with this people? A little more, and they will stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go over before the people, take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand your staff, with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will be standing before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you will strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so that the people may drink." And Moses did so in plain view of the elders of Israel. He called the name of the place Massa and Meribah, because of the contending of the Israelites, and because of their testing the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" Oh, I guess that's where we're at. How quickly we forget the faithfulness of the Lord. In 16 verse 6, Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, "In the evening you will know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your murmurings against the Lord. As for us, what are we that you should murmur against us?" Yeah, I thought it should be, well, fairly obvious that it was miraculous events that brought them out of the land of Egypt. That is, God. Yeah. Yet, despite God's miraculously bringing them out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and him providing bread and meat for them in the desert, yet continually the Israelites grumbled against the Lord, and, well, against Aaron and Moses, that it was Aaron and Moses that brought them out of the land of Egypt to die in the desert. And there was no faith. With the collection of the manna, you had God saying explicitly, well, I mean, it's not kind of, it's not a new theme to this, to the book of Exodus, where God is saying explicitly, this is what's going to happen, this is what you're supposed to do. In the case of that was the same in the case of Moses telling Pharaoh, let my people go. And it's the same here where Moses tells the Israelites, you're supposed to gather just enough for you to eat, leave none till morning. And they left some till morning, and it got worms in it. And on the sixth day, gather twice as much as you're supposed to. And they did. And the Lord said not to go out that day because there wouldn't be any for them. Yet they went out that day. So it's just like, in every possible way, they keep disobeying. Carrying on, Matthew chapter 22, verses 1 through 33. Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven can be compared to a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his slaves to summon those who had been invited to the banquet, but they would not come. Again he sent other slaves, saying, tell those who have been invited, look, the feast I have prepared for you is ready. My oxen and fattened cattle have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet. But they were indifferent and went away, one to his farm, another to his business. The rest seized his slaves, insolently mistreated them, and killed them. The king was furious. He sent his soldiers, and they put those murderers to death, and set their city on fire. Then he said to his slaves, the wedding is ready, but the ones who had been invited were not worthy. So go into the main streets and invite everyone you find to the wedding banquet. And those slaves went out into the streets and gathered, and they found both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the wedding guests, he saw a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes, and he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without wedding clothes? But he had nothing to say. Then the king said to his attendants, tie him up hand and foot, and throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. Then the Pharisees went out and planned together to entrap him with his own words. They sent to him their disciples, along with Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are truthful and teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. You do not court anyone's favor because you show no partiality. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus realized their evil intentions and said, Hypocrites, why are you testing me? Show me the coin used for the tax. So they brought him a denarius. Jesus said to them, Whose image is this, and whose inscription? They replied, Caesar's. He said to them, Then give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Now when they heard this, they were stunned, and they left him and went away. The same day, Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to him and asked him, Teacher, Moses said, if a man dies without having children, his brother must marry the widow and father children for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers among us. The first one married and died, and since he had no children, he left his wife to his brother. The second did the same, and the third down to the 7th. Last of all, the woman died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife of the 7 will she be? For they all had married her. Jesus answered them, You are deceived, because you don't know the Scriptures or the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. Now as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. When the crowds heard this, they were amazed at his teaching. Yeah. Regarding the parable of the marriage feast here, you have those who were invited to the marriage feast being unworthy to come to it. So the invitation is extended to everyone. But then you have at the marriage feast someone who didn't come in with the wedding clothes and was subsequently tied up and tossed out of the marriage feast. I think the marriage feast is supposed to represent the resurrection and ultimately the union of the church with God. And regardless of what the wedding clothes represent, though I think it represents coming to Jesus Christ, I think it highlights the importance of coming to God on his terms, not our terms. That is, this person thought he could get into the wedding feast in his own way, but I think it's only through God's perfect sacrifice, Jesus Christ, that we can have a right relationship with God. Yeah, don't have too much to say on the rest. Psalm 27, verses 1 through 6. The Lord delivers and vindicates me. I fear no one. The Lord protects my life. I am afraid of no one. When evil men attack me to devour my flesh, when my adversaries and enemies attack me, they stumble and fall. Even when an army is deployed against me, I do not fear. Even when war is imminent, I remain confident. I have asked the Lord for one thing. This is what I desire. I want to live in the Lord's house all the days of my life, so I can gaze at the splendor of the Lord and contemplate in his temple. He will surely give me shelter in the day of danger. He will hide me in his home. He will place me on an inaccessible rocky summit. Now I will triumph over my enemies who surround me. I will offer sacrifices in his dwelling place and shout for joy. I will sing praises to the Lord. And finally, Proverbs, chapter 6, verses 20 through 26. My child, guard the commands of your father, and do not forsake the instruction of your mother. Bind them on your heart continually. Fasten them around your neck. When you walk about, they will guide you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. When you wake up, they will talk to you. For the commandments are like a lamp, instruction is like a light, and rebukes of discipline are like the road leading to life. By keeping you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the loose woman. Do not lust in your heart for her beauty, and do not let her captivate you with her alluring eyes. For on account of a prostitute, one is brought down to a loaf of bread, but the wife of another man preys on your precious life. Yeah. It's despite what culture may say regarding sexuality, it is a serious thing and a holy thing, and it can set one's life on a path of destruction. So, if done outside the proper realms. So, okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.